we have today very, very special guest, July Ono. Hello, July. How have you been doing today?
Excellent, Jarek. Thank you for having me.
All the time. Pleasure is all mine. And our members are so keen to have you on our webinars because we were discussing for many, many months and we were talking about what kind of subject to cover. And I would like to thank you very much for finally be with us at this moment. So
I think it's been a year that we've been trying to get this together.
Definitely, but that's okay, right? Patience is a virtue, so as long we will achieve our goals, as long we will not take decades, that's okay, perfect with us,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So guys, the way how we are doing is we are recording that presentation seminar. July agreed to it, so we will post on our portal Canada REIC and other TV channels and internet TV channels, including iTunes. And the way how I see it is very simple. I will ask July to introduce herself, and then she will start talking about her topic. However, prior to that, I would like to encourage everybody to ask the questions. The way how I see it is I will conduct that. You can raise your hand, one. You can type the question in the question mark section, which is on your right side on the panel. And if you have a microphone, please kindly mention that, and I will unmute you, and we can have a kind of interactive conversation, which will be much more profitable for everybody. So, July, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Jarek. So a little bit about me, for those of you who do not know July Ono, you can read all about me on my website on thebeacheducation.com. But I started real estate investing on January 1st, 2002. I had made that decision at a seminar, the Millionaire Mind Intensive, on November 25, 2001, and I'd made that switch. So I spent a few weeks researching real estate, how to become a real estate investor, and decided on January 1st that I would be a professional real estate investor with absolutely no experience. And subsequently from there, there's a whole whack of stuff which I cannot cover here. But the gist of the matter is 18 months later, on December 31st, 2003, I quit my work at the City of Vancouver. I worked in the engineering department, sanitation, so I know all about garbage in Vancouver. And I told all these people saw me quit. They saw me doing the crazy thing, which is becoming a real estate investor, the highly risky real estate investing thing, and created my passive income and became a full-time real estate investor January 1st, 2004. And I haven't looked back. I'm basically an unemployable now. And so today, I own approximately 502 doors. That's right. I'm saying approximately because I'm in the process of acquiring another 30-unit townhouse complex in March. So then I'll be able to raise that. So in the meantime, I would say my portfolio is somewhere in the neighborhood between $35 and $40 million. But prior to that, I started with $40,000 in the hole, credit card debt. Not a nice, pretty place to be. But guess what, folks? When you focus on creating what your goal is and you put that plan into place, there's nothing that can stop you. You can all be millionaires in 5 years or less. I have seen it. I've taught people how to do it. You just need that plan. So I'm going to give you some hope here, just 5-year plan. So Jarek asked me, what is the single most important question you have about real estate investing? I had him ask you those questions because I wanted to know how I can talk about a lot of things, but what is specifically on your mind. And the one question that came back repeatedly from all you people out there was very shocking to me. The question was, what do I invest in? I very rarely get that question. Usually it's where or how, but you guys want to know what to invest in. And so this is an important distinction because where to invest, you can invest anywhere you want. I can find deals all across Canada. It's just what you want. It has to meet your investment criteria. So make sure that whatever you're going after, it has to meet your investment criteria. If you don't have any, you're going to write these 4 questions down next so that you can clarify, okay? So before I dive into the what to invest in, I need you to clarify these 4 questions. So question 1 is, what is your 5-year strategy? Hey, if you don't have it written down on paper, you're just going to go round in circles. You have to write it down. So you can start general and vague at first, but I want you to work on this and start to get very specific and get distinctions. You need to know, where am I going to be 5 years from now? So today is February 2nd, 2012. So on February 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, that's 5 years. February 1st, 2017, what do you have? What kind of lifestyle do you have? What kind of income are you earning? How much real estate do you have? Picture it in your mind. I know that it's a big leap to make, but just do your best and push yourself a little bit. But don't go so overboard that it's a little unrealistic. Like, I have a $100 million goal right now, and it's been a little unrealistic because I thought I would have it 2 years ago. So I've kind of scaled down my vision. I gave myself a $1 million goal to achieve in 9 years. So that was my goal. I want to have $2,000 per month passive income net in 9 years, and all my credit cards paid off. So this was a goal I had made on November 25, 2001. And I thought, if I gave myself till November 25, 2010 to have $1 million in assets and $2,000 per month passive income and have all my credit cards paid off every single month, that was my original goal. So I had something specific and measurable and a monetary target. And having that goal in front of me, I was able to go after that with really a lot of laser focus, and basically got it within a year and a half. Now the second question is, what is your exit strategy? So before you go into buying anything, you have to know how you're going to exit that investment. Aha! That's the first question you ask yourself. That's the first question I ask. I already know my exit strategy when I go to buy something. Your third question is, what is your entry strategy? Then you figure out how you're going to get into the investment after you figure out where you're going to exit, if you even exit at all. And the fourth question is, what is your holding strategy? So are you going to self-manage this yourself? Are you going to hire a professional property management company? Are you going to joint venture with someone and you'll switch off? So you have to figure out, how are you going to hold this property? So where are you today? This is part of your 5-year strategy. You have to have something written down so you can see your progress. It might be painful to look at the information. It was painful for me to see that minus $40,000 net worth, but it was a starting point. And my starting point was, I want to get to 0. So I did everything I could to get myself not out of debt, just to earn additional income, to create assets. So make sure you're very cognizant of what you're thinking in your mind. If you're thinking, I want to get out of debt, guess what? You're going to create more debt. Think, I want to create more assets. I create income. Think about creating wealth. And so do you need to build up your capital? So I would say for the majority of you, the answer is probably going to be yes. Not everybody has $100,000 of cash lying around in their bank accounts. So if you need to build up your capital so that you can invest in something substantial, then you have to have a short-term plan. And I'll get to that. It's your fix and flip plan. Do you plan to quit your job and replace that income? So what are you making right now? And you need to be able to minus all you need to know your net income. How much do you need now to maintain your current lifestyle? And then how much income do you need to create the desired lifestyle that you want, with all the vacations and all the little toys that you want? Do you want to do real estate part-time or full-time? Now this is a really important distinction, because how much time are you really willing to divest into real estate investing? Because most people don't have a lot of time. So if you're spending 3 hours a week on real estate investing, you're not going to get far fast. I was spending 7 to 8 hours a day on top of my full-time job, and then all my weekends, all day long, Saturdays and Sundays, for about two solid years, going after what I wanted. So where are you today, and how do you plan to get where you're going to? There has to be something written. You need that plan. Start working on it if you don't have it already. And there's people out there who can actually help you with that kind of stuff, like Peter Kinch, for instance. He's a great mentor and trainer. He has a 5-year plan workshop just for this. Now, if you're working towards being a professional real estate investor, know that this is a business. It's not a hobby. You must treat it like a business. Otherwise, you're going to have hobby results. And that's why people, I see a lot of people who are wondering why they're not making the leaps in results, because they don't have anything in writing and they're not treating it like a real true business. So based on your ability to purchase properties, and what I'm saying is if you don't have the capital, you need to start with fix and flips, or you need to joint venture with someone who has a capital. Now I'll go into more detail about how I started with my what. So fix and flips is a great strategy to build up capital in a short time frame, usually like 1 to 2 years. If you're thinking of a 6-month flip, yeah, that's possible, but you have to become an expert at that. I know people who do this, and they're like contractors. They do a lot of work themselves. If you don't have the contractor experience, if you can't do the plumbing and the installs yourself, it's going to be a little expensive. So you need to team up with someone who has those skills. Cash flow is a strategy to build up passive income, but in order to build up cash flow, you need capital. So now that I've kind of done the prelim for this, I'm going to go into the what do I invest in. So you must invest in multi-unit properties to start with. Going after single-family dwellings like condos and townhouses and houses, it's a slow and painful process. And especially with strata corporations, you have the strata fees, and possibly the bylaws may limit rentals. So it's not exactly my preferred method. So I like fourplexes for starters because it still qualifies under residential mortgages, which is the easiest way to qualify. So it's all about economies of scale. That means cost savings. So the more units you have under one building, of course you're going to have economies of scale. So why have one tenant, one house, when you can have 4 tenants under one roof? So then if 1 or 2 tenants leave, you still have 2 other tenants. Get it? So you always want to have multiple streams of income coming into your property. If you happen to have single family right now, is it up and down? Because you can't just have one income stream in a single family dwelling. You have to have at least 2 up and down or side by side. And if you have a garage, make sure you rent that out for extra too. Wherever you can get extra money, and I call it profit centers, build it in. Now, it's easier to get joint venture capital in the bigger deals, in my opinion, because it's going from a, instead of going from a retail purchase model, you're going into a wholesale business model. And then the banks tend to look at you as a professional instead of an amateur. So to best describe this process of buying a fourplex, for instance, and joint venturing, I'll share with you my experience of how I first got started. So what I bought and how I worked my way up the real estate food chain. So before I started real estate investing, I spent a few weeks clarifying those 4 questions that I posed to you earlier. I didn't just start. I made sure I knew what I was doing. I had a plan of action, and then I implemented. And I had specific and measurable results that I needed to compare with. And it's important that you answer those questions in as much detail and specificity as possible, because if you're vague, you're going to get vague results. And if you have no written plan, your investing plan is going to be a disaster, I guarantee it. So please write something down. Now, I watched a friend while I'm doing this. In the beginning, he purchased a condo in another province through a company called TriLink, which is now called Platinum Properties. It's similar to 2020 Properties. They go out, they buy apartment buildings, they strata title it, and then they sell off each of the individual units to the retail investor. And so back in 2002, a condo in Edmonton cost $60,000. Yes, folks, I know. The down payment was $15,000, and my friend, he used his line of credit to purchase his first investment property. And the cash flow is somewhere between $4 and $8 per month. But guess what? This money was earned through OPM, other people's money, the bank's money through line of credit. And he was able to write off the interest payments and earn some income and gained equity, obviously. Now, I saw that and it was so easy for him, but I did not have any cash reserves. I didn't have a line of credit. I didn't have $15,000, so I had to do it the hard way. So when you have no money, then your single most important asset is your time and your expertise. I spent 6 months researching Canada from coast to coast. I went to Victoria, to Halifax, Northwest Territories, to Prince Edward Island. I went everywhere. And believe me, overwhelming, because you cannot invest in all of Canada at the same time. You need to narrow down your focus to one specific region. So I finally cut out the east half of Canada and I focused on BC and Alberta. That's still too much. And then I dropped Alberta and focused on BC. Still too much. I worked my way from the south up to the north, and I started eliminating as many cities as I could because it was still too much. Did I want to be? You have to be an expert in some area. So I was looking specifically for cash flow. That was what I was looking for. I wasn't really looking to fix and flip. I needed cash flow to replace my income. And so I went from the island to the lower mainland, to the interior, the Kootenays, the Okanagan, and believe me, there are some places where the banks won't even loan you money, so I avoided those areas. And then I worked my way north, and I finally hit cities in the northern section of British Columbia that cash flowed. So by this time, 6 months later, I had gone through 67 deals that didn't make sense. So this particular fourplex I found, I could tell instantly by the numbers, oh my God, this is going to work. And in this, at the same time that I was looking for the deals, I was also networking like crazy. And so I had acquired a list of names, 29 people who were willing to invest with me. And between the 29 people, the investment amount totaled $90,000, 90000. So I had a starting place, some kind of number that I could go after. So through this whole, and guess how I found the fourplex? It wasn't listed on the market. It was through networking. Some person told me, it was a property manager actually, and she'd totally forgotten about this particular owner, but I persisted. I kept asking the same question over and over and over and over. Is there anything else out there available? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? I think I spent like a couple hours with this person, and finally, after like the 50th time I asked, oh yeah, so-and-so has his property for sale. I'll give him a call. And that's how it started. So deal number 68, keep looking. I had a logbook. Each page was a number 1, a number 2, a number 3. I would cut out clippings and paste it in there, or I would cut out the listing and paste it in there, and all my research was on those pages. And I could see all the research that I had done, the questions I'd asked the owner, and my calculations in my book in longhand, because longhand is good when you first start, so you can see how the numbers relate to each other. Eventually you start to see patterns happening, and by the time you have deal number 68 come along, guess what? You can pretty much see if it works or not. So one of my mentors, Dolph DeRoos from New Zealand, he said, if you go after 100 deals, make offers on 3, you'll end up buying 1. And so I did that. I was going after deal number 100, but I got there a lot sooner. So this particular fourplex was $220,000. That's what he wanted. And I spent another 6 months negotiating price down, and I finally got it for $186,000. And the reason why it took so long is every time we called, he was in a different part of the country. He's a retired real estate investor, and he definitely made me work for my money. Now, get this. 1 week before closing, I called my investor up to give instructions on how to transfer the money, and she got cold feet and backed out. I had already taken the subjects off. We had no written agreement in place. She wanted to go spend her money on a dream vacation of a lifetime. And even though I explained everything to her and she totally understood what she was giving up, basically, guess what? I had to go ahead and buy this property with no money. So what I did was I had a backup investor in place and reviewed the 7 profit centers in real estate with him. He was sold at profit center number 1. I could show him that on day 1, he was going to make 35% return on investment on his money, which I needed was $48,000. And guess what? He used his line of credit, which is a smart man. So that's why no matter, I've learned now to get commitments up front now. My first deal, almost lost it. But guess what? You learn and you grow from these experiences. So have your investment criteria clearly spelled out in writing before you do anything. That's one of the first things I learned. Handshakes are great. You know, I can do them now, but I'm better at ascertaining people and their commitment. We had a 5-year hold or a 25% increase in the property's value. If any of these 2 things happen, it would trigger a phone call. And then we would ask each other these 4 questions. So the question would be, do we sell the property? Or do we refinance? Or do we keep it status quo, just leave it the way it is and wait for a refi when it comes up? Or does one investor buy out the other? You know, these are valid questions. The property went up 25% in value. Then we have to, you know, discuss what you want to do, what's in the plan. And so what happened is about a year and a half later, I got an unsolicited call from a realtor. Another investor wanted to buy the property for a lot. What was it? $399,000, something really outrageous. And so I thought, why not? By this time, we had different criteria. I was starting to consolidate in apartment buildings. I was starting to divest myself of the smaller holdings. So it was actually perfect timing. So we went our separate ways and made a lot of cash. Then I duplicated this formula with another fourplex in northern British Columbia with a single joint venture investor. So these two deals, these fourplex deals, because I had no money, I did something called the 50-50 classic joint venture. I put in the labor, the sweat equity. I did all the administration, the financing. I did all that stuff. The joint venture investor put all the cash in. They don't want to be, you know, involved in all that kind of stuff. They just want to return on their investment. So I deserve 50% of the equity, and I deserve 50% of the cash flow. I do, because when you go through the 7 profit centers, it's clear that they're not going to make 35% ROI in a bank, and that's just one profit center. So if you go to onthebeacheducation.com, there's a section called media, and you can go under there, and there's some video tutorials, and I explain the 7 profit centers in real estate. Your investors have to understand this. You talk in grade 10 English, you use grade 10 math. It's very simple. But when people are getting into joint venture partnerships in real estate investing, it can appear to be intimidating. So part of being a professional real estate investor is making real estate accessible to people. Now, there are bankers, financial planners, financial analysts, mortgage brokers, realtors. Like I've taught and trained a lot of supposed professionals in the industry. The majority of them do not understand real estate investing. Accountants, a lot of accountants don't understand real estate investing. Bankers definitely don't understand real estate investing. Do not assume they understand. You have to go through and educate people on the 7 profit centers in real estate. And then once they understand the concept, you can plunk the numbers in. Most people, most investors rush in headlong because you're so excited with the numbers. And then the next thing you know, their eyes glaze over and everything goes right over their head. They've completely shut off because they don't want to appear stupid. And so, but they still don't understand. So be gentle with your investors, coax them and with honey, and explain to them in the really simple way, as you see on the website. Stand up, have a flip chart, and model what I'm doing. And then you just repeat and repeat and repeat until it becomes second nature. And then I did this again with a 9-plex. And instead of 50-50 on that one, we did a 4-way split evenly, 25 4 ways. And so there's a whole lot of ways you can do joint venture partnerships. When you're first starting out, 50-50 equity split is pretty cool. The more people that can get involved, the less there's the less profit. So you gotta, whatever, the person who dictates the deal is you. If the investor is satisfied, that's fine. That's all that matters. Don't let the investor bully you necessarily into it, but you can do whatever you want. Now, let me explain here. I bought a 9-plex, 2004, I think, for $225,000. And then 2 years later, in 2006, I got an unsolicited offer for $399,000. So that was a $174,000 profit we made, I believe. Split 4 ways was $43,500 profit over 2 years per person. This does not include cash flow, principal pay down. Because it's 9-plex, it was commercial financing. It requires more due diligence. Higher costs are involved. And I'm going to have to teach you about that too. So Joint ventures with money partners. This is by far the absolute best way to leverage your investments. I don't buy any of my investments by myself. Let me see now. Actually, I don't own anything by myself. How about that? My investment properties. Because I like to mitigate my risk and spread myself over a large territory instead of putting all my eggs into one basket. So that's what I like to do. I'd rather take a little bit of a lot than have everything in just one thing. So my eventual goal is to have $100 million of property and just take 10% instead of having, 100% of nothing. And by the way, joint venturing with other people is the only way you can purchase multifamily apartments, because you need to raise millions of dollars. And just know that people like Donald Trump, these billionaires, do not buy money with their own money. They use other people's money. That's about leveraging people, leveraging money, and leveraging the deals. So what do you do first is a question I get asked a lot. The what? Well, do you find the deal or do you find the investor? Well, that's not the right question. The answer is you do both activities at the same time. You're always networking and putting people into your funnel who want to invest with you. And the reason why they want to invest with you is because you've earned their trust. When people say no or they give you excuse, the answer is very clear. They simply don't trust you. It all comes down to that. Otherwise, if the deal was that good, everybody in town will come after you, right? But no, that's not. They're looking at you. They're looking at your life. They're looking at how congruent you are. Do you do what you say? Any inconsistencies will be it's the perfect excuse for them not to give you your money. Now think of it from their point of view. They're going to be giving you a lot of money, $100,000, less, more, I don't know. But the thing is, are you going to treat them like gold? How impeccable are your finances? So they want to see that they're going to be treated well, that you're really going to, the ROI invested in you is going to pay off. So that's why you need to have consistent actions and you need to have consistent values, and that's really what people look at too, your core values. So again, what is your strategy to filter out and qualify your investment partners? I find that most people I talk to don't even have, well, first of all, they have no answer because they don't even think about this part. Not anybody qualifies to be an investment partner. That's why there's a lot of partnerships that fall out of favor because they're just going after the money. Well, that's just one part of it. You have to see if your core values are competent, if they're in alignment. So if one person just wants to flip and one person wants long-term passive income, there's a conflict there. You have to make sure everyone is in alignment. And so all of my investment partners are aligned with my core values, mine, not theirs, mine. They're aligned with mine. And so as long as that happens, everybody's happy. And be very particular about who you bring into your family. Because you know what happens when you have one bad apple? It makes it bad, rotten for everybody else. What is your list of criteria for your ideal investor? You should have a list of at least 5 to 10 qualities. I know what mine are, of who my ideal investor is. And I target that specific person. You know what kind of profession they're in. You know what kind of income they're making. You know what kind of toys they already have. So you know their lifestyle values. You know their retirement vision. They're a certain age range. Go after those investors. You got to filter all that stuff out because everybody is not your investor. And that's another thing. You spread yourself too thin by thinking everybody is going to invest with you. They're not. So the more specific and narrow you focus, the faster you'll find them. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's not. You get there so much faster with so much more clarity when you know who you're after. Now, what type of investment is your ideal investor looking for? Now, I've seen people that are trying to sell something to a person and it's not even the right investment for that investor. So stop wasting time by trying to convince someone when it's not even on their radar. If someone likes stocks and bonds, I'm not going to force them into real estate investing. That's what they want. That's what they can have. So know who your ideal investor, what they're looking for, and align yourself up with that. And better yet, if you know what your ideal investor is looking for and they want something else, send them off somewhere else. What type of ROI is your ideal investor looking for? ROI stands for return on investment. So if they have $50,000, $100,000, what in their mind, what kind of return do they want? Now, you don't tell them, you let them answer the question first, because you don't want to plant anything in their mind just yet. A lot of people, you'd be surprised at their answer. I'd just be happy if I got 1%, or I'd be happy if I just if my return wasn't negative. I just laugh at that one because I love it. So imagine that, an investor who just wants non-negative returns, which means they're losing money. So then that gives you an idea of how well your investment's going to do. What type of personality does your ideal investor have? What type of core value does your ideal investor have? What type of philosophy does your ideal investor have? You have to know this. And the only way you can know this is because you have to know what your personality is, what your core values are, and what your philosophy is about life, about investing, about money, because you're going to be aligning yourself in a way that you will attract those people into your life. So you're not aligning to their core values. You're aligning yourself so they'll be attracted to your core values. And what are you unwilling to compromise? Yes, I do not compromise on certain things. Ethical, moral, legal, I'm very black and white in that respect. There's no gray areas. That's why we have, with my accountant, everything is all laid out in black and white, and we do everything right. We treat our investors like gold. If anything happens that goes downhill, guess what? We will take the brunt of it. It's our responsibility. That's why I'm the managing partner. So what are your uncompromising values? If someone comes along and wants something, are you going to compromise? Because people will look at that. You have to know and stand firm in what you believe in. So you have to leverage people. So you always be out there networking. And when I say networking, I really mean educating. You want to take the time to add value to other people's lives. Otherwise, you'll be like everybody else out there, taking, wanting. I want you to shift that whole mind frame, and it's all about giving people value, helping people get what they want first. I think Zig Ziglar said something like, if you help enough people get what they want, you will eventually get what you want. So help other people first. Leverage money. I had no money. So those of you out there who have no money, absolutely no money, you will probably achieve what you want faster than the people who have a little bit of money right now. And the reason is when you have money available to you, you're in a comfort zone. You don't have to push yourself so far. But I'm telling you, when you're desperate and you have absolutely no other options open, you will do whatever it takes. You will do the scary stuff. You will do the inconvenient stuff. You will do things because you have to. And I'm really grateful that I had no money, because I don't know if I would have actually done the things I've done if I had money in the bank. And then you need to leverage deals. So let me see. The answer here is what do I invest in? Multifamily. Start with the fourplexes, because there's multiple streams. If not a fourplex, a duplex, and then convert it into a fourplex. That's even better. Make sure you check with the bylaws in the local municipality. Some areas don't allow secondary suites, so be careful, because if you go in and do an illegal suite, you could be shut down. It's happening, and so that's why you must look at your core values. Are you willing to compromise it for money, or are you willing to abide by the rules? So make sure you have legal conforming. Legal non-conforming is also a way to get fourplexes if they're not valid. But a lot of municipalities do allow secondary suites. Once you get above 4 units, you start going into commercial financing territory. Now, when you're getting into this arena, you better be really prepared, because banks look at you like a professional. And if you come across as unprofessional in any way, it gives them all the more reason to not work with you. So have your investor binder ready. So when I'm talking about your investor binder, I'm just going to go into mine right now on my computer. Oh boy, where is it? There it is. And so this took me a week to compile. And then I put all together one big, massive 140-page document. And what it is, if I'm going after a new bank or financing, they want to know who I am. What kind of experience do I have? What kind of portfolio do I have? What are all my assets? So my lender bio has my picture, of course. Your picture is always good. If you have a headshot, great. If you don't have a headshot, get one. And make sure your teeth are showing. People need to see your teeth. Now, your investor binder should have your personal information on the front, how to contact you. And then it should have your a bio of your, like a resume, a curriculum vitae. And then you go into your real estate bio, what you have. And if you don't have any, well, guess what? You're starting. You all have to start somewhere. You want to have your net worth statement. Hopefully it's good. I remember when I first started, my net worth statement wasn't very good. You all know it was negative $40,000. And so when I went in and went for financing for that fourplex, they rejected me, but they accepted my investor. He had AAA credit, and so the mortgage was accepted based on his credit. We both went on title together on that property. Okay, so that's how I first started, which was fantastic, because then I could go after multiple properties with my investor's credit, not mine. Now, when you have your net worth statement, you list all your assets, all your liquid assets first, and then your non-liquid assets second. And so you have that total, and then you have your liabilities. Your liquid liabilities first, like your credit cards, and then your non-liquid liabilities like mortgages and loans second. And then you have your net worth. So I love looking at my net worth because I have been working at it. And you really, really want to get it to the 7-figure net worth statement. You want to have 7 figures. So that's my goal for you, is within 5 years you will see your net worth statement at 7 figures. That's 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, all the way up to 9.999999. And then you want to work on your 8-figure net worth statement. Get it to 10 million. Okay, so that's how you work it. But the first thing is I had to get it from negative to 0. Okay, and then everything on your net worth statement, you have to make sure all your assets are attached, and that really impresses the banks. You can get financing very easy when you have a lender bio already done.
July?
So, yes, Jarek.
I do really apologize. One of the Canada REIC members asking politely to ask you a question because unfortunately he has to leave within 20 minutes.
Sure.
So I have decided to unmute him. Dean, it's all yours.
Hello.
Hi, Dean.
How are you?
Excellent, thanks. How can I help you?
I have a question, and sorry, I have to leave. That's why I was asking this question.
Yes.
The question is, if you have an investor who is bringing the down payment to the table, is that the same investor who has to qualify for the mortgage?
Yes.
Or two separate investors?
No, what happened is whoever is putting money in the deal, the bank is going to want their details. They're not going to bring a secondary person with who's not going to invest in the deal. That's fraudulent, actually, to have someone else qualify for investment but has no intention of investing. You can't do that.
So could you have one person who qualifies for the mortgage and then have another investor who is bringing the down payment to the table?
Yes, you can, but all three have to be on title for that property.
Okay.
Or somewhere in the deal. There has to be a joint venture agreement where all three parties are there.
Right. Right. Okay.
Otherwise, if you don't have that agreement in writing, it's considered mortgage fraud.
Yes. Yeah. No. That's what I'm thinking, is to have both of those investors, one who qualifies for the mortgage because they're a good sponsor,
Yes.
the other one maybe comes up with a down payment. And let's say, now how would I write myself in if they're putting the money on the table and I'm the one who found the deal and brought them two together? Can I write myself in for 5% of the equity?
Of course you can. You can write. So, okay, Dean, did you find the property?
Well, I have a couple in mind, yes.
Okay, so let's go through this step by step. Dean has the property. Okay, I'm making a house here. And then you have investor 1, investor 2. And investor 2 has the money or the credit rating.
Right. Let's say investor 1 has the credit rating.
Okay, credit rating.
And investor 2 is bringing the down payment in, and I'm investor 3. So I'm not bringing in any of the down payment. I'm finding the deal. I'm finding the investors.
Great. So that's called sweat equity. So what I recommend is you can easily negotiate this deal where you own 50% of the equity and the cash flow, and the other 50% is split between investor 1 and investor 2. And it's fair. I'll explain. So they get 25, 25, and you have 50. So there's a total of 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go through the 7 profit centers in real estate, you'll see you have to, profit center number 1 is equity. So how much is the property, do you know what the appraised value of the property is?
We haven't gone that far yet.
Okay, so hopefully it's more.
I'm just using this as a generality, July.
Okay. Usually I buy all my properties under appraised value, what they're worth, because I look for specific investors.
Right.
And so usually on equity day 1, I can show my investors anywhere, usually it's double-digit return, like a minimum 10% up to like 35% usually on their money. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example of the fourplex deal that I did, so I can give you some numbers, okay? He put down $48,000, my one investor, and the property was worth $220,000. I had gotten an appraisal, and I bought it for $186,000. So that left $34,000 of equity on the table.
Okay.
So you take the $34,000 of equity day 1 and divide it by the $48,000 of cash that he put in. Do you know what the percentage is? Do you have a calculator there, Bean?
Sorry,
do you have a calculator handy? I want you guys to do this and not have the answers given to you. So I need you to take $34,000 of equity, day 1, and divide it by the $48,000 of cash that he put his down payment. That was a down payment plus a closing cost plus contingency. What's the percent return?
You're saying $34,000
divided by $48,000.
Right, divided by $48,000. That seems like pretty high.
Yes, it is. It's 70%.
Yeah, that's what I got. That just seemed really high.
Now you divide that by 2 because you get half and he gets half.
Oh, okay, okay.
So even though it's his money, you still have to split the equity 2 because that was the deal. I found the deal, and on equity day 1, he's earned $34,000. Shoot, my math sucks. $17,000 is how much he's making equity on his $48,000. So he's already made 35% return on investment on the day we buy the property. Now it's not real cash; it's phantom income. It's phantom equity, right? Because it's not cash in his pocket per se until we sell.
Right. Right.
But he saw that, and he's going, wow, I'm making 35% on my money that's just sitting in my line of credit doing absolutely nothing. So that's why I'm worth 50%. You see? So that's profit center number 1. And then you go to cash flow, ELCPTAR. So leverage. Then you ask him, well, where could you put that $48,000, sir? You know, like what other investment besides real estate do you have other investments? And he said, oh, I have a stock portfolio. And I go, well, what's the average return on your stock portfolio? It can be like 1%, 2%, in some cases minus 5%, minus 20%, you know, it depends on the market, right? And the question is, how do you feel about the market being so volatile when it's like your income is all over the map? Well, that's the reason why he went into real estate. He couldn't stand it. He was having stomach problems. He couldn't sleep at night. So it's like peace of mind. You're giving people peace of mind with a solid, tangible real estate asset, right? And so just the peace of mind alone is a comfort to them. So that's something that you can't give a monetary value to, right, Dean?
Right.
So then I go to cash flow. This particular fourplex, it was bringing in $2,800 per month. And then once I got through, I was able to raise the rents over the course of the year. So I got it to over $3,000 a month. So that's 4 tenants. Now, that's less the mortgage, which was $747 per month, plus utilities, property taxes, you know, all that kind of stuff, right, of about $300. So I had approximately $1,000 of expenses every month. So that still left $2,000 cash in the bank every month, right?
Cash flow, right.
Yeah, cash flow. So that cash flow technically belonged to him, $1,000 for him and $1,000 for me. But I don't pay out a whole amount every single month. You want to always have money in reserve.
Right.
Okay? So my particular investor didn't care about getting a return, meaning he didn't care about the cash flow. He just wanted to have his money working for him. And some people, you may want to have monthly distributions. You may want to have quarterly distributions, at least enough to cover their costs, like their interest costs, right?
Right.
But you have to decide, you make that decision. I'm going to pay out the distributions every 3 months or once a year. It's up to you guys. It's whatever you decide and whatever your investors are willing to accept from you, Dean.
And you have to write that right away in the offering memorandum, don't you?
You write that, it's an agreement that you have in writing between your investors. You have to come to that agreement.
Right,
or you can just force it on them. Say, this is the way it is. Either you're in or you're out. I'll find someone else. It's up to you. And then principal, yes?
Sorry, and are you bringing all your investors in as an equity partner or a debt partner or either?
You can do either or either. Okay, some people don't want to be entitled. They want to be a debt partner. All they want is their simple interest. Hey, that's great because then you own the asset, right? Ideal. But I bring most of my investors in as an equity partner because that's my demographic. I specifically target my investors who want to be equity partners. And it's because their mindset, their way of being is very long-term. Debt partners tend to want to, they're short-term thinkers. They want to cash out. You know what I mean? Right. And that kind of mindset, that's not the investor I'm after. So I pass on debt investors. Although I am looking at that model, and maybe in a few years I'll tap into it.
Okay.
So just understand that debt partners, they want their simple interest return now. They don't want to be committed or tied up, right, in an asset. Whereas an asset equity partner has a completely different mindset. That's why you need to study your investors and the demographic you're going after.
Okay. Thank you very much. I've taken up a lot of your time, so I better let.
Oh, no. And don't forget about the principal pay down.
Right.
That is an ROI that most investors overlook. Just the principal pay down alone equates to 5% ROI per year, which outperforms the banks for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So just on that alone, and you can convince your equity partner, so why are you worth, this is the question I got asked, why are you worth 50% of the deal? That's a little steep. And I'm going, well, let me show you this. Don't tell them you're going to give them 35% ROI. They won't believe you until you start going through the numbers. And you see why I'm now worth what I'm worth? You can't get this anywhere else. And they'll be more than happy to give you half.
Excellent.
5%? Yeah, you're welcome, Dean.
Thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure.
So then you're muted now. By all means.
That was pretty fun.
Of course, that's the way we love such kind of questions, right? So.
Oh yeah. So the thing about the debt partner and the equity partner is some people they may have cash, but they may have too many assets, and they don't want to go on title on another asset because the liability gets tagged to them. You get it? So what they want to do is they just want to go in as a debt partner. Let's say I'll give you $50,000 if you give me 5%, 7%, 10%, whatever interest rate you agree upon. And then all you do is simple interest is the best way. Who wants to do compound interest on that? You just pay them the simple interest per year. And then what happens is you have a buyout strategy. So let's say you just needed that $50,000 for 5 years. And so you have a plan in your cash flow that in 5 years' time, when your property comes up for renewal, for instance, you're hoping that you've put $50,000 worth of value into the property. You know, you do some cosmetic changes like painting, landscaping, things to at least prop the value up, get it reappraised at year 5, and you've worked it so that you can get the money out and buy out your debt partner. So that's a strategy right there on how to get title yourself and move the debt partner off. That's just one. I haven't done it myself personally, although I've counseled other people. That's a strategy. Or you can go into your equity partner. You can do buyout strategy with them so that in 5 years, property goes up in value and you refinance, and with the money you buy out the partner. That can be done. Of course, that's a little more complicated because then the partner's on title on the property and you have to do a deemed disposition. So that's why you have to figure out in advance your exit strategy. What are you planning? And when you're depending on your exit, how are you going to mitigate your tax liability? So the debt partner would be the ideal way because there's no tax liability at the end. There's no deemed disposition at the end. But you do have a different type of investor you're dealing with as a debt partner because they can up and just say, I want my money now. But that's why it has to be written into the agreement that they're going to hold the money there for a minimum term. And you specify what that is, 3, 4, 5 years. And that's usually aligned with the mortgage. Are you going for a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year, 5-year mortgage? You usually align it with the refi. It's just more convenient that way. Any questions? I'm more than happy to help people with multifamily. I can go into commercial properties, but it's more complicated.
Okay, so sure, there are questions. Allow me to unmute Mr. I will call him DJ because he asked me to be called as a DJ because his first and last name is much more difficult than mine.
Okay, Jarek.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
You're most welcome.
Hi, DJ.
Okay. Hi. So my first question, actually, it was answered indirectly, so I'm not going to repeat that. The second question is, in case whatever partner we are deciding, debt partner or equity partner, so can we have someone from different country being one of those partners?
Of course you can.
And can they be legally bound to one of these agreements?
Yes.
So in that case, like intercontinental regulations cover all that.
Yep. So that's why you make sure you help the investor from the foreign country understand the Canadian tax laws. That there will be something called withholding taxes.
Okay.
Okay. And that they will be required to, like when the property is sold, the government is going to ask for the withholding to be paid. That's why you have withholding taxes up front as part of cash flow. So whatever his half is going to be, you can't just pay it out to him because there's a tax liability, and the government, CRA, will come after you if he doesn't pay. You will be responsible for it.
So basically, I need to pay that money to government on behalf of him?
Yes, because I could tell you right now that if CRA, if the property gets sold and your investor from a foreign country does not pay any taxes, they will come after you. I know because I was buying an apartment in Ontario, and it was owned by 6 people, actually six accountants. One of these accountants had moved to Thailand permanently. I didn't know this. And so 48 hours before closing, my lawyer discovers that that this person has not paid any taxes to the government. And the government found out that this property was being sold, and we got a letter stating, you are now responsible for paying this investor's, this particular owner's back taxes. It's like, what? What do you mean I'm responsible for this? I'm just
right.
So what we did was, my lawyer, a very sharp cookie, she was able to catch that. What we did is his portion of the profit, we put into trust, into our lawyer's trust account, and what we did was we paid his back taxes out of his profit, and the excess was then forwarded to their lawyer, and he was paid whatever was left over.
So in that case, CRA knows that there is a separate trust account from which this amount will be paid?
I don't really like the way you worded that. The trust account was with my lawyers.
So in that case, we would notify CRA that it will be coming out of the trust account and not any liability for me.
I'm just advising you that I don't want you to get stuck with any tax liabilities for your investor, because I know that a lot of investors, sometimes their financial planning is not very strong.
Right.
Right? You want to be on top of things. So this is just something in the future for you to be aware of and make sure they understand all this stuff, and that I don't want you to send all the money off to him without understanding that if you don't have the proper withholding taxes for the CRA, you will be responsible for it, not him.
Right. And one more question to the previous thing which you discussed regarding the matching profile for the investor and the person who is working with them. So in case if again it is definitely must that we should not have conflict on the core values.
Yes, I highly recommend. Yes.
Yeah, but in case if there are some kind of deviations around both the profiles, so can we? Because we need money for sure. Without money, we can't really proceed with any particular deal. So in that case, can we take some hits on some of our not really core but close to core values?
Could you rephrase the question? I'm lost as to what you want.
So basically, I want to say that in case if the investor is ready to invest with me and some of the attributes in him I don't really like it.
Yes.
And if it is not really legal or ethical thing, can I proceed knowing the fact that there may be some risk compromising?
Of course you can proceed. I'm just warning you that if your core values are not in alignment, you will have problems down the road. That's
all right. And in that case, basically, it will be good to capture those kind of risk in the agreement.
Yes, that's why you have agreements. So if you know something's going to come up because this person's a certain way,
right?
Like for instance, in my agreements, I write it so it discourages anyone who wants to flip. They can't flip.
Right, because we have minimum tenure defined.
That's right. There's a minimum tenure, and if they're not willing to invest a minimum of 10 years, they don't qualify. And they'll read that right in the agreement. They're going, "Whoa, I gotta stick my money in here for 10 years?" And I'm going, "Yeah." And I'm going, the answer is yes, because it's a cash flow model, long-term cash flow model, and they basically weed themselves out, right?
Right.
That's right. And but before you get to that stage, you want to be able to filter them out, because by the time they get to the writing the agreement phase, you're already halfway through the deal. You're about to close at this point.
Right.
You want to filter them out now. But in the beginning, when you're first starting off, sometimes you have to bite the bullet and deal with an investor that you don't like. And even if their values are completely opposite, sometimes You just have to do what you have to do to get the deal done so you can get some equity going. But that's a short-term strategy. I don't like dealing with people I don't like.
Okay. And
so,
which one do you prefer, like getting more equity gain or more on cash flow?
Oh, I'll definitely go for cash flow.
Okay.
But
All right. So thank you so much.
That's me.
Yeah.
It's up to you. If you want more equity, go for it. But guess what? You can't survive without cash flow.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, DJ. Thanks for asking the questions.
Okay, so DJ, you're muted, and let me find Mr. Randy. Mr. Randy, you are unmuted. Hello? Mr. Randy, you are on the phone, so you should be okay.
He may have his microphone muted.
Okay, so I will mute back again, and let's see Mr. Marcelito. Hello, Marcelito.
Hello, Jarek.
Hello.
Hello. Do you hear me, Jarek?
Yes, I can hear you, Marcelito. How can I help you?
Hi, July. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you.
Yeah, actually my question is regarding in relation to the first gentleman that asked this regarding the three persons involved in the joint venture agreement.
Yes.
Actually, I'm starting to structure our joint venture agreement here. I have some investors. Some are they can provide the down payment and the mortgage, and some other don't have enough money, but they can provide mortgage. Some other have money, or some have can provide mortgage but don't have the down payment. So this different kind of joint venture. I talked to my lawyer here in Manitoba. It seems that he's suggesting me to just make to incorporate, let's say, the three person forming into corporation.
Mm-hmm.
So does it the same with the joint venture agreement and a corporation?
Well, you should still have an agreement in place outlining how the deal is going to, just because you incorporate doesn't mean the deal is going to work out right. You still have to understand what is everyone's share going to be. Is it equal? Like, is it going to be 33, 33, 33? Or
Mm-hmm.
are you going to be 50 and they're going to be 25, 25? Or are you going to be like 50, like let's say 60 and then 30 and then 10? Right?
Yeah.
Because everybody has their place. So you, being the person that's putting the deal together, you determine what everyone's portion is going to be. And so let's say you found the deal, Marcelito?
Yep.
Okay, so you're the deal maker, right? So you found the deal, you're putting it together, you're doing all this stuff. So I would say right there 50% of the deal is yours. And then the other people, one has the money and one has the credit rating.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So the person with the money, that's great. The deal won't go forward without that. And so you determine, is that worth 25%? Is it worth 30%? And the person who has the credit rating, basically they're having no money, but they're going to go in for a portion of the equity and the cash flow. So are you willing to give that person 5% of the deal, 10% of the deal? So you have these conversations, or you decide in your mind, what is that worth?
Yes.
Right?
So basically on the structure, so these things are in the structures of the joint venture.
Yes,
and
the agreement.
Do we still need to have to incorporate it, or how it works?
See, I can't give you legal advice because I'm not a lawyer,
Right.
and I'm not familiar with Manitoba law.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Ontario law and BC law pretty good because I own properties there. But it's like you need to talk to an accountant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the lawyer, he operates from a place of mitigating risk. Everything he advises you is about how to mitigate risk. And even if it's not convenient, even if the cash flow sucks, he's going to say what he says because that's what he's been trained to do. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go to a chartered accountant, they're there to talk about mitigating taxes. See, lawyer mitigates risk, accountant mitigates taxes, and sometimes the two are in conflict with each other.
Yeah.
And actually not sometimes, all the time. So that's why you get different advice from these professionals. One says to do it this way and the other person says the opposite. So that's why, yeah, so you have to decide what's important for the deal. So, for instance, when you incorporate in Canada, you're going to be, when you hold a passive investment like real estate in a corporation, you do not enjoy corporate tax rate because it's not an active business. It's considered a passive business, holding investment. So you'll be taxed at the highest corporate tax rate in Canada, but you have to be aware of that.
Yes.
And so being aware of that, you have to have your tax mitigation strategy in place. So when the people put the money in, like your money partner, is that, and how are you going to dividend the money out? And so the only person who's going to be not taxed would be the money partner, because his original investment can be paid back in the form of a shareholder loan repayment, which is not taxable. But any income you take out will be taxed at the corporate tax rate and then taxed again at your personal marginal tax rate. Corporations holding real estate are always double taxed. But if you have a corporation already with lots of retained earnings in it, that's why businesses buy real estate, because they don't want to take the money out and get taxed twice. They just go out and buy real estate and keep it inside their corporation. So that's why if you're just creating one just to hold a new entity, it's real estate, it's like, you need to get some more advice. Just talking to one lawyer is not good enough for me. I talked to about a dozen before and to this day I still haven't put any of my properties into a corporation. They're all flow-through entities going into a limited partnership. But that model may change, depends. It all depends on what you want and how you want to manage the money and how you want to manage your taxes and manage your liabilities. But you are going to definitely be the general partner because you're in charge of the whole thing.
Okay, yeah. And
a lot of questions. Yes.
Lots of questions and lots of things that I need to understand.
Yes.
And regarding the debt partner you're telling, because I met some person that want also just want a small interest. So if what agreement we're gonna have if I borrow his money?
You have a promissory note.
Oh, just a promissory note.
Yes, and the partner may or may not want to have a lien placed on the property. I don't know.
Okay, and then I put it into my corporate account, and then how long will it stay there so I can use it to put a down payment?
Oh, you have to, all money has to be traceable for up to 3 months prior to being in any bank account. So if the money just shows up this month, the bank is going to ask you, where was it before it came there? If it's not there for at least 3 months, they're going to wonder where the money came from, and they will want a paper trail. And so if it just plunks in there today, they're going to say, okay, where'd that money come from? They say, oh, from my partner here. And then they'll go, okay, partner, where did that money come from? They're going to want that person to show bank statements from where that money came from. If it's a line of credit, that's easy peasy. But if it actually came from some account, that investor has to show you where their money came from and has to show you for 3 months before that the money was there. This is part of the anti-money laundering legislation, right? That's why it's a little bit more due diligence required on your part. But once you do real estate investing, I guarantee you, every one of you is tracked by FinTrack.
Yeah. So meaning after 3 months, the lenders will not question that anymore, eh?
Okay. Is that it, Marcelito?
Yeah, so meaning after 3 months that it's in your account, so the lender will not trace that anymore or give questions?
They'll just want 3 months.
Okay.
That's as far back as they usually go. But if they find anomalies or discrepancies in your paperwork, they can go back farther. They have the right to ask.
Okay.
But traditionally, that's why I highly recommend that you have everything all lined up in advance. Have all the information right there, ready to go, because the more prepared you are, the less work for them. The more you make a bank chase you for stuff, they start wondering.
So how about the investors that will provide the money? Do I need to trace that also?
Yes, absolutely. Anywhere where the money, the actual cash is coming from, must be traced. You have to show the bank a paper trail.
So it should be there also for 3 months.
If it's a line of credit, if it's a line of credit, Marcelito, there is no paper trail. You just need a bank statement showing this person has a $100,000 line of credit, or a letter from the bank manager stating this person has this much money available on their line of credit. Because a line of credit is just sitting there waiting to be used, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But if the person has assets, let's say a bank account, and they're going to invest, let's say $100,000, the bank's going to go, where is this $100,000 coming from? If it's coming from some other asset, they have to trace the asset. They will ask you for a copy of the bank statement or whatever asset statement that person has, front and back. If you can't trace it, they will deny you the mortgage. I guarantee you, in this day and age, they will deny you the mortgage.
Okay, yeah.
That's why you have to plan the purchases now. And this is good training.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no money laundering, okay, Marcelito?
That's
that's why I want to learn more, because I don't want to be a victim of that money laundering.
Well, it's just the way it is.
As I started my searching for investors, I noticed that there's a lot of people also interested in investing in real estate. They said that they have money, but I don't want to be catch that maybe that people is doing money laundering, so I don't want to be there.
That's right. So the thing is, I have, let me see, a template here. Where is it? Investor document requirements. Okay. So whenever I have investors who will make a deal, I want to invest with this is what I tell them. They need one, source of funds. They have to prove source of funds for the bank. And what that means is they have to provide me with a recent copy of their bank statement or a bank letter confirming down payment amount. It's called confirmation of source of funds. So the bank's going to want that. So before I scramble, I tell my investors up front, I need you to send me copies of your source of funds. So where is that $100,000 coming from? Give me copies. And then the bank will need a personal net worth statement from all of your investors, because they want to know who's in this deal, who's the money person. And in their minds, they're going to go after the money person if anyone defaults on this property. They'll make you sign personal guarantees. And then 3, confirmation of assets. So if you have assets on your net worth statement, they want copies of the statements showing your ownership of those assets. And I have lots of real estate. I have to show them my property taxes and my notice assessment on all of my properties, confirming that I own it. Oh, and my bank statements as well, showing the date and the amount. And sometimes they want it for the last 3 months, but usually they don't. And then on top of that, because of the new AML regulations, they want a copy of your driver's license, they want a copy of your current passport, and they want a copy of your birth certificate. This is new. I was buying a property in December, a few months ago, and 48 hours before closing, they dropped this on me. Oh, by the way, bank wants these items, and they wanted it notarized, which made me very upset because I could have done this months earlier, but they went a little overboard. And so that's why now I have all this stuff up front. If an investor of yours is actually a corporation that wants to invest with you, make sure you get the articles of incorporation and their notice of articles and their certificate of incorporation.
Okay.
Because the bank's going to ask for that too.
Okay.
So this is stuff that you do up front because you'll have it ready at your fingertips when the bank needs it. You're not going to be scrambling for it. And that makes you a professional real estate investor.
So if the three investors, the first, second, and then me,
yeah.
will be on the title. So meaning we are on the mortgage or just on the title? What's that?
Well, someone has to go on title, and guess who that person is? The person who must go on title is the one who qualifies for the mortgage.
Okay.
The bank's going to insist that person goes on title. Otherwise, you don't have to go on title, but you'd better have an agreement where you're all involved, right? So there's different ways to do it. You can have a caveat in place. You can have a lien against a property. You can have a joint venture agreement. But then this is part of things about how do you protect yourself if the money investor decides to sell the property without you. You have to have recourse, right? Or else you all go on title. And then you have to understand that if you go on title, all of you, let's say this is an example that happened with some of my students that I taught. They went out and bought 3 properties together, these 3 people. And after the 3rd property, the bank refused to loan them any more money because each of these 3 people had 3 mortgages. Now, they did not properly identify their exit strategy because if they wanted to buy more than 3 properties, it should have been that one person got the mortgage on each of them. Then they could own 3 properties, but it would only show on their credit report 1 mortgage each. And they should have had a joint venture agreement on the side where they were all in partnership together on the deals. Understand? They could have bought a total of 9 properties instead of 3 because they capped out their total debt service ratio. Does that make sense, Mardelito? I'll explain it again.
Yeah, that's
a
right.
different way.
I got that. Thank you.
Okay. So if you're going to be the 3 same persons buying multiple properties, you want and you want to continue buying more properties, you got to plan for stuff like that. They totally did not plan that. And so they had to wait.
Okay, Marcelito. I guess we have to give some possibilities for other investors to ask the questions. If you will have any further questions, please raise hand again. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, July, and thank
excellent.
you, Jarek.
My pleasure.
Perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to unmute Randy. We have been trying to unmute him now. Randy?
We still can't hear you, Randy.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm forced to read the question. What systems do you use to keep in touch with your investors?
Oh, I have my webmaster. He's my system. And what he does is I have my newsletter. We use a program called Graphic Mail to send out my newsletters to everybody. You don't have to use that. There's constant contact. Or what I usually do is if I have my AAA list of people, and I send out personal emails straight to them because I don't have that many people actually, only about 60. And those people are my top core 60 investors. They get personal emails from me. And then I have the general list of several hundred, and all they do is they get my general emails about just keeping people in the loop. And I highly recommend that if you're going into professional real estate investing, start seminars. Start putting on educational platforms, because this is a really great place to become a credible leader in your field. And people can start referring you, but you have to have your website, a landing page explaining who you are. And because if you don't have the website, you won't have traffic, you can't create buzz. You should definitely be on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I'm telling you that YouTube is really huge. If you can videotape yourself doing some of these educational tips, that'll give you even more credibility. It's all about credibility. The more credible you appear, the more people will trust you. And then, because they're going to be looking at you going out there doing stuff, and what people don't want is, it's a lot of work becoming a real estate investor. There's a lot of due diligence involved. There's a lot of research, and that's usually the first thing that most students are shocked at, the amount of due diligence that's required. And so you're saving them that pain, and they're, believe me, looking for you. So they're looking for reasons to invest with you. So think about these people who are just wanting to give you money. What is it that they need? What assurances do they need from you? And so things like stories. People love stories. We're creatures of storytelling, the bards. The whole thing is about the spoken word. So in this day and age, we don't have that opportunity to really speak to people and tell stories in person. That's why you need to tell stories in a newsletter. So stay in contact with your network. I highly recommend a monthly newsletter, at least once a month. If you do something weekly, people tend to start deleting you. It's just too much. I have a newsletter. It goes out once a month. It's one page, and it's simple. I'm very careful not to advertise investments, because if you're private equity, meaning doing deals privately on the side, it's illegal to promote investments to the public. So therefore, you do it selectively. And so you attract the people to you because they know you're buying deals. And so the best way to do it and to find the people you're looking for is put on seminars and start, like Meetup's a great place, or put something out on Craigslist. Just start seminars on a small basis. You can start in your there are cheap places like the library, for instance. You can get it rental free, and community centers you can get the rent for free, and the free is always good. Start out free wherever you can, and work your way up into the hotels. They're expensive though, and so be cognizant of your marketing strategy. I did seminars for a good year, just giving value away, and the whole point was a marketing strategy to start building up a network of potential investors, both people who want to be educated and the ones who want to give me money. Now, mind you, it's a long-term strategy. You're not going to find people right away, because you have to be out there, and in their face is the best way, because they need to get a read for you. So I know that when I'm raising money in the millions, doing it by email doesn't work. I've already done it. People will not give you money if you just ask for it by email. So you have to do it in person. So that's why they need that face-to-face encounter with you. It gives them that assurance and that extra level of credibility. And then they'll hand me over their $100,000 quite easily in person. So if you don't have a newsletter right now, I highly recommend you start getting that out there any way you can. I remember the first couple years, I did it manually. I sent out up to 1,500 emails individually with their name, and it took 8 hours. When I sat down to when I finished, I would go cut, paste, insert name, send, cut, paste, insert name, send, cut, paste, insert name, send, and I did that for 8 hours until finally I got tired of doing it, and I found a webmaster and found a platform for it. But you do whatever it takes to stay in contact with your network and give value, value, value. educate, help people. And the reason is this. When they realize how much work is involved in what you're doing, they're going to go, you know what? It's way easier giving you money. And that's what they see. They see, wow, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of due diligence. Property management goes sideways. The deal starts going sour. Then you have to go in and do all this stuff, come in and do some stabilizing and remediation. And lots of people don't have that time. So you have the people with time, like myself, and the expertise. And then you have the people who have a job but no time. They have the money. So that's why you need to target your investors. And part of the targeting that I do is I don't exclude anybody because I don't know who they know. I have a book called Your $1 Million Network, and it explains what I do. If you go to my website, you'll see it there. And it basically explains that most people have a core circle of influence, people that you know personally, that you know on a first name basis. We know approximately 200 people like this, give or take. And so that core 200, they know 200 people, don't they? So if you go 200 times 200, the first level of influence is 40,000 people. So your core 200 people, they know on their first degree of influence 40,000 people. Those 40,000 people, they know approximately 200 people. Your second degree of separation is 8 million people. In just 2 degrees of separation from your core, that's 8 million people you have access to. We go to your third degree of separation, 8 million times 200 people, 1.6 billion. So you don't have to go beyond the third degree of separation to basically almost encompass the planet, because after 1.6 billion, it exceeds a population of the planet. So that's why I don't need to go out after 40,000 people. I just have to cater to those first 200 in my group network and treat them really, really well. Treat them with much value. And what they do is they talk about you. They become evangelists and say, oh, you've got to read so-and-so's newsletter, and you've got to go to this website, and you create buzz about who you are. And let's see. So that's why you want to work the numbers. That's part of my goal when I first started investing. I knew 20 people very well. I had been a hermit pretty much before then, not very social person. And I went out of my comfort zone to meet people and to start networking, and I shifted my whole mindset to schmoozing is not about being inauthentic or insincere. Schmoozing is about giving value to people and connecting on a really authentic level. That's what I reframed schmoozing as. And so now I know approximately 4,500 people in my database, and they know their 200 people, and they know their 200. So that's why I don't have to look for deals anymore. They come to me. I don't have to find investors so much anymore. Like in the beginning, I was really hoofing it. I can find them quite easily. And if I have to hoof, it's easy, because now I have a ready-made database, and I can start following up in a more aggressive, assertive, targeted plan instead of just hit and miss, running around in circles kind of thing. I hope that helps you, Randy. Could you type something more specific and see if Jarek can read that for me?
Sure, definitely I will read it. However, I would unmute Michael now and wait for Randy's answer.
Okay.
How you doing today?
Hi, Michael.
Hi, thanks for coming out, and I appreciate this. I just got a quick question. Got a quick question, sorry. I was just wondering how do you find network and like JV partners?
So how do I network?
Yeah, or how do you find and meet JV partners?
How do I find and meet JV partners? Okay.
Yes.
So part of what I was explaining to Randy earlier about how do you keep in touch with your investors, what happens is I don't really know who they are sometimes. All I know is I'm out there. Actually, A lot of these people I don't even know. They come from a first and second degree separation level, but they come through other people. So that's the really amazing part, Michael, is you think you're going after one specific person that has the money, and what's often the case is they back out, either cold feet or they weren't really interested or they thought they want to do it, whatever happened, and they usually end up not investing. That's been my experience. But it's been the person beside them or behind them or just out on the fringe of that person, they find out they're the ones that come and invest, which is really quite interesting. And the reason is I spent the time, you spend the time educating that person, and you're being a certain way, which is authentic, impeccable integrity, with lots of accountability and follow-up. People see that way of being, that who you are. And so if you always show up, and you always show up like you say you're going to show up, that's consistency. Consistency breeds trust, because then there's no surprises. They know that you're the real meal deal, and there's not going to be any inconsistencies. And inconsistent behavior in a real estate investor is a death knell, because an investor doesn't know where you're going to be going or coming if you're always inconsistent with your actions. You have to be consistent. And so what happens, I'm usually somewhere either at a coffee table, on a napkin, or in a seminar, on a flip chart, or on a PowerPoint presentation. It's really weird. I'm just talking about real estate, and they can see my passion for it, and I love teaching it. And I just think real estate is it's God's gift to man, because here we are on this planet, and the land is anyone's to invest in. Anyone with no education, no paperwork, no qualifications can go basically invest in real estate. You don't need a degree to do this. You just have to have some, motivation. You don't even have to have money to invest in real estate. You just need to have a lot of passion and desire to help people. So when people see that, even when I'm going after a particular person that I think has money, what happens is someone completely off the left side comes at me, and it's like, wow. And it's because they were listening, and they were watching, and when the opportunity finally came, and that person I was after backed out, someone else ultimately fills the void, and they step up to the plate. But guess what? I've been surprised many times that the person I thought was going to invest doesn't, and then someone else does. Okay? So it's all about your way of being. You want to have a great reputation.
Sorry, I had to mute Michael. So.
Okay.
Michael.
So Michael, I don't actually go out and deliberately find partners. I'm just out there helping people. And I will, if someone's asking about advice for money or for real estate, I do it from a place of helping them for their best interest, not mine. I'm not actually actively soliciting money from people. I want to do what's highest and best for that person. Sometimes it means not taking their money. Even though if they want to give me their money, sometimes it's like, you know what? You're not in a position to do this right now with me based on their current financial position. It would be better off that they get stabilized, and then later on in a few years, when they have that dealt with, then come back. I've done that. Because it would be unfair for me to take money if they're not in a position to really appreciate it. And then I know that 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, they're going to want to bail because their finances are in a shambles, right? That's what usually happens. I don't want to deal with that because there's too much paperwork involved in that stuff. Banks don't like it when your investors start bailing on you.
Perfect. Hopefully that will answer the question. Michael, I do really apologize. There's so much feedback, so I'm not going to unmute you. If you have additional questions, don't hesitate to be online and type it in, okay? So next with Mr. Tim.
Tim. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Julie. How you doing?
Excellent, thanks. How can I help you?
Doing quite well, thanks. My question was, in the beginning, what sources did you use to look for cash flowing properties? Because at least in the Calgary market, I just don't really see a lot of them. You know, from the rental income that you can get for what the prices people still, you know, want to charge.
Yes.
You know, what sources did you use to find those properties? Were you just looking yourself? Did you go through brokers? Combination of both? Like, so what strategies did you use to source those properties in the beginning?
I did a lot of things. I looked in the papers. I subscribed to the Western Investor. I did lots of calling and networking with realtors, property managers, mortgage brokers, and getting the word out. So when I say network, I took a lot of people out for lunch, and I picked their brain because I was in learning mode and acquiring knowledge mode. And then I actually drove to the island. I do drive-bys. I would meet people there, like the actual on-site managers, and I would meet property managers, and I'd meet realtors, and we do like tours of the island. So I know Victoria, Nanaimo, and Campbell River, and all those places. And what's in that market? I did a lot of online research, more so now than in the beginning, because now there's a whole lot more websites in this now, 10 years later, than in the beginning. What else? Oh, magazines, not so much. I don't find that good a source. I just find that word of mouth is just absolutely amazing. When you're talking to neighbors, they'll tell you all sorts of things. Some good things, some bad things. But guess what? Everything you listen with ears of opportunity, right? And so you position yourself so that I see an ad in the paper. I did lots of newspaper lead. I would follow up on tons of that stuff. I would say most of them didn't pan out because a lot of the newspaper leads were actually written by builders and developers. So I learned to weed those ones out pretty fast. And then developing relationships with the people on the front lines when they know a property is coming available, for instance, like a property manager. But you have to be on top of them because they have lots of people that want deals too. So what value are you going to give that person? And usually it's because they're going to keep this, either going to keep the apartment or the property in their portfolio, right? That's one of the motivating factors. But property managers also have their key people that are looking for stuff. And a lot of hoofing it. Like I've driven all over Alberta and like Lethbridge. That was interesting, but a little too far to drive for me. And the Calgary market I've looked at, and I quickly went out of that market, too high price for me, and I went up to Edmonton area and bought up there. I still like the Edmonton area personally because it's a blue-collar workforce, and Calgary is more white-collar and higher prices. So if you're buying, and if you want to buy in Calgary, you have to make sure that the property has multiple streams of income for the value, right? You just simply cannot buy a single-family dwelling in Calgary, and it will not cash flow. Even with two sources of income streams, it still won't cash flow. So that's why I'm not in Calgary right now. I've been out of that market for a while. My first property was a 14-hour drive from where I lived. I live in Tsawwassen in Delta, 20 minutes south of the Vancouver airport, and I was willing to drive all the way up to the Fort St. John, and I found properties up there. Now, today, Fort St. John is booming, but in 2003 it certainly wasn't. And you have to do a lot of due diligence in a niche market. So if you like Calgary, look for the demographic. Like, what kind of tenant do you want? Do you want students? Do you want a young family? Do you want an older couple? Like, what kind of a renter do you want? And then when you're looking for that particular property, what's your exit strategy? Are you looking to fix and flip it? Are you looking to do a short-term hold? Like, what are you looking for? Equity appreciation, cash flow? Obviously, there's no cash flow. It has to be equity appreciation. And then you're looking at the Calgary market right now. So what would be the appreciation be in 5 years, for instance, for an exit strategy? would that be enough money, less the realtor's commissions, or are you going to sell it yourself? So these are all questions that run through my mind when I'm thinking about what I'm going to buy there. And for the price. And so I would look, see, I haven't researched Calgary that well, so I don't know that market. I'm much more conversant with Edmonton. So what I do is I take a map of the city, and then I section it into my demographics. And so I drive through the city. That's why I've driven through Calgary. I know Edmonton now, and I drive through and I look at the demographic and what I want. What kind of tenant, what are they driving, what are they wearing, are they walking to the bus stops or are they driving? You can see all this stuff in the neighborhoods. And you kind of, sit on a bench and drink coffee and watch, right? Oh, look at that. This neighborhood here has trucks, like $50,000 trucks and BMWs. And over here on this side street, they're all driving Fords and they're rusted. So you kind of see what kind of tenants are where, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, once you suss out the city, you have to find that particular niche neighborhood, and you're going to watch it like a hawk, right? So I know in Edmonton, there's St. Albert, which I don't invest in. That's too high priced. And then there's the South End, there's White Mud, and Northwest, Southeast. You kind of section it all off. My eyes instantly went to downtown core, north and northeast corridor of Edmonton. And this was when I was researching it back in 2002 to 2005, in that time frame, when the vacancy rates in Edmonton were something like 10 to 14%. And it wasn't really built up. So there wasn't a boom. It was actually going through a 14-year recession in Edmonton at the time. And it's come out of there right now. And so you see that stuff. You see where traffic patterns are happening, transportation. Is anything interesting happening in Calgary? Are they building a ring road? Are they building some kind of expansion? I would read the newspaper and look for these little weird articles about the government funding transportation routes and funding. I just want to know where was the government spending their money? And wherever the government said, yeah, we just authorized $160 million rural road improvements in northern BC, northern Alberta. I'm going, what's that about? And you go follow the money trail. What are they doing with that money? Well, they knew something that I didn't. So they spent 10 years fixing all the highways in northern British Columbia, Alberta for the oil corridor, right? Because they knew that there was this huge wave coming for transportation needs, and they had to upgrade the highways for it. You have upgrades happening, work crews coming in, and you have the economy starting to increase, right? So you position yourself saying, okay, they're starting here, they're going to end there, so I'm going to position myself halfway. I'm going to start investing in this town, that kind of stuff. And then people go, wow, why are you investing there? It's dead. There's nothing there. But you already know what's coming. And then by the time now, Fort St. John is booming. And you cannot buy the properties for what I bought them for now. I bought them for $40,000 a door. And I have 129 rental units there. You can't buy it for that price today. So that's all part of that big research that you do up front. And you drive, and then you keep your eyes open like a hawk for any deal that's going to come out, because you're going to jump on it. It's because it's specific. It's something you've already been looking and waiting and watching for. So in Calgary, maybe not a high-end place, maybe a middle-income place, you want to find the worst house on the best block. Sometimes that doesn't work, by the way, Tim, okay? Sometimes the worst house on the best block is not a good idea. But overall, it is. And so you're going to wait for an opportunity, or you will preempt opportunity and make an unsolicited offer. I have investment properties where I have unsolicited offers on some of my apartment buildings right now. They're not for sale, but you have people that are so desperate because they see a good property, they want it. And if you can see a totally run-down place where the value where the owners have devalued the property, all the better. And what are you willing to go in there? I have an investor that I taught right now, a mentee. He went after drug dealers specifically with gunshot holes in their houses. I thought he was insane, but he's going, July, no one wants to buy these places. So he's
doing something different, and that's good.
Oh yeah, so he braved the elements. He braved the drug dealers, and he bought this great fourplex in the city here for this amazing price, and because no one wanted it, and he changed it, you know, and he spent the time. He's renovated the whole thing now, and is completely. I think he's doubled the value in that place. Now it's worth what it's supposed to be worth. And I'm going, kudos for him. I wouldn't have done that. But he did whatever it took to get it done. He wanted to get that equity. He wanted that cash flow. And his plan succeeded. He was not willing to let anything daunt him from this task. Because the price was right, the cash flow was right, everything was right. So in Calgary market, I tell you, there is definitely something like that out there. There is a house that nobody wants except you, because you're looking at it from with different eyes, investor opportunity eyes, right? So that's what I would do. If I was forced to buy in that market and there was nothing else for me to buy, I would look for that horrible property that no one wants, and the neighbors want to get rid of but can't. And it just happened that he was in foreclosure as well, and no one wanted to deal with him, not even the realtor. Realtor was just petrified of this drug dealer. So that's an idea. If I had to buy,
noted.
If I had to buy in the Lower Mainland, if I was forced to buy in the Greater Vancouver area right now, which I don't, but if I had to, I would be in Maple Ridge right now, or Mission. Those have, in my mind, the best opportunities, the best upscale for over the next 5 to 10 years. And because the Golden Ears just got built, the traffic has been moving east, so the connections are better. And there's a lot of really bad drug dealer houses in Maple Ridge. And so there's opportunity out there for getting a property for far below market value. But then you'd have to do a lot of sweat equity to bring the property back up into the proper valuation. I have another colleague. He specifically targets marijuana grow-up houses and fixes and flips those houses. He's amazingly successful because he's found his niche market. He's found the formula. So, what happens after a grow-up? The city shuts the house down, and it has to be recertified, because there's mold and all that other moisture issues and all that kind of stuff. Everything has to be gutted and rebuilt. So he's got his team. He knows how to do it, and he's in there himself doing a lot of the repairs, but now I think he doesn't do that anymore. So there's another strategy.
That's something I've looked into, actually.
Okay, so become an expert in dealing with the city. Become friends with the inspector. Get them on your side. That's what he's done. And now that he has a track record, they don't have to inspect like he does. They go in there. They already know the quality of work that he's done. And so it's become a machine for him now. He's systemized it, and he just chugs it out now. He needs more, actually, grow-up houses, because he's running out.
Ask him to come to Calgary.
Calgary?
Oh, yeah, you can... yeah, you can definitely ask him, I suppose. Let me see. But yes, look for undervalued property. Look for deferred maintenance. Look for distress in the investor, the owner, property, because there's something up. Things like if you're walking through a neighborhood, for instance, and you talk to neighbors, they'll quickly point out, oh yeah, so and so just died, and their estate, and the kids are having a fight. It's like, wow, really? And then you can go be in there and be a hero, and mediate something like that, and release the funds for them. Or there's always these things that people get tied up in deals. And what you want to look at is how can you create a win-win situation for everybody. Like people in foreclosures, they obviously need to get out. And unfortunately,
even
most
if they
people,
don't know it yet.
That's right. And most people, the reason why foreclosures go to where they do is I get these, well, it's really sad when a person calls me up 24 hours before the bank's going to come and lock them out. And they've been in the foreclosure process for the last 18 months, right? Because it takes a long time in Canada to foreclose.
Absolutely,
Banks will do anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you calling me now when I have less than 24 hours to help you? It's too late, right? But
Yeah.
it's not always too late. I just had a friend, a woman called and asked for help. She was being foreclosed. She had a week before the bailiff came and was going to evict everybody. And my friend, he's a very generous guy. He did it as a giving back. He found a renter for the house, and I think 2, 3, or 4, what do you call it, those students that rent. You know, they come into, you supply room and board for the students, right?
Yeah.
So now, all of a sudden, instead of being upside down, she's making a load of money, more than she could ever imagine, because he was being creative, and he found multiple tenants for her house. So instead of one tenant, he has something like 5 tenants in there, and legally done. So there's ways. He turned that house into like a boarding house for students. These foreign students come into town. They need a place to billet. And you can charge like $800 to $1,500 a month for room and board, and they stay there. You cook them. You have their meals for them 3 times, I think 2 or 3 times a day, and it's like, wow. And all they're doing is they're renting a room, and you just provide the meals. That can be easily done. So there's your Calgary model. Look for a place where students are coming from overseas. They need a place to stay. The school board, I think, has these plans, and then they put your house on the market kind of thing, or I'm not sure how he found these.
I'm sure there's probably a program like that offered by the schools, yeah.
And then, you know, you have a nice place, and you have someone like a full-time person or a part-time person, at least prepare the meals for them, and they come and go. So that's how you can turn a house into a cash flow cow. I know some people who do that, and it's like, this was several years ago. The minimum was $800 per student per month. That was the going rate, and I think it's gone up since then. I was like, wow. So that's pretty cool. Even my own sister did that for a while because it was good money to help them with the mortgage helper. But if you have, you know, more bedrooms, why not go for it? And they're temporary, right? So once the school season's over, they go, and then you have new students come in. So you have great turnover. I like turnover, personally.
You actually like turnover with tenants or with students?
I like turnover in rent-controlled provinces because I don't like the government forcing me to raise rents like 1% per year. And in Ontario last year, I had to, the maximum I could raise rent was 0.7%. At least this year they increased it to 2.7% or 2.9%. But still, it's I've never seen a rent increase above 3%. So when your utilities are going up 10 to 14%, and you can only increase rents by 3%, you can quickly see that unless you have turnover, you're not going to cash flow well. Alberta's great. I call it Yahoo country because you don't have the regulations that you have in like BC and Ontario.
Right.
Right. So you can raise the rents to whatever the market rate is once a year, and we can't do that unless they leave.
So do you typically include utilities in your rentals?
No, I exclude them. All of my rental properties is just the rent plus utilities.
That's
my God, it'll totally kill you if you have to pay for your tenants' utilities nowadays.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was the thing to do in the past. But with the cost of gas and oil and electricity, it's just outrageous. Ontario, in the last 2 years, the electricity hydro has gone up 14%. My water bill's gone up 14%. It's like, it's just, the good thing is when the tenant leaves, most of my properties in Thunder Bay, I would say 60 to 70% of the tenants are students at the universities. And so when they leave, I can mark up my rent to market. I'm not forced to, I don't have to do the 3% guideline. That's for existing tenants that stay there year after year.
Right. So that's why the turnover is good in those
That's why I love
areas.
turnover.
That makes sense.
Yes. But once your buildings are topped up to what you want, then you can change the marketing strategy and keep the tenants, right?
Right.
And I do that in Prince George in one of my other I call it my AAA property. They look like condos, and we have some students, but for the most part, we cater to permanent residents in that particular building because they love it. So there's different strategies you can implement depending on what your criteria are. So if you don't mind students and a little bit of turnover, but you'll get huge cash flow, there's a great, I'm sure Calgary has a great market for international students.
Depending on the area, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to be close to a school or one of the schools that they would go to or a university. But then if you do that, being close to universities, the price tends to go up.
They definitely do in this city. All the people that own properties close to any one of our schools, they kind of know what they're worth for that reason.
Exactly. And a lot of international students, they come here for high school as well, not just university. My sister, she catered to specifically high school students, foreign students, and so she didn't have to be near a university, just a high school.
That's interesting. Never thought of that.
Yeah, so that's that was a different market. I'm going, wow, really? You mean
people
parents
do that?
send their people do that? I was shocked. Yes, they do.
They do.
Getting a Canadian degree is highly sought after in other parts of the world. Like just a high school degree is highly important to them. And they're like from Korea and where was it? She's had Australian students, Korean students, not so much from China per se, but Taiwan. Just really interesting where they come from. It's like, why are you here? Oh, I want to get my high school certificate from Canada, a Canadian school. And my answer was, why? Because
why does it matter?
because when an employer sees a Canadian high school diploma, I will be preferred over any of the local ones. It's like, wow, really? And so there you go. That's another bit of due diligence that you could be looking into.
Definitely. David, thank you very much, David. He's mentioning that it's called homestay.
Yes, thank you very much, David. Oh, that's the name.
Okay.
There's always someone out there.
Do we have a 2 minutes for a last question?
Thank you very much, Julie. That answers my question early.
My pleasure.
I have to force everybody to just keep on track. So do we have one more question? Time for it? July?
Absolutely.
Sure. So, Mr. How do you pronounce your name? Sen?
Sean.
Sean. Oh, Sean. Sorry. That's my Polish English, so.
Hello, Sean. How can I help you?
For you, I have a question about seller financing.
Oh, excellent.
Basically, you are seller financing with an owner.
I'm losing you.
What
There,
exits?
that's better.
Okay, sorry. When you're arranging seller financing or a VTB with a seller, what is the best exit strategy to make them whole and take you on with the property?
Okay. So the great thing about VTB is that the seller already knows the value of their property, right? So a vendor, what happens is we did a VTB where I purchased a property, and then we did a promissory note back to the vendor, and we had a 5-year repayment term at 2% interest per year. So, and then with a lump sum payment at the end of the year 5. That's one type of vendor financing. Or you can do where it depends on the seller, because I remember this particular deal, the seller did not want to be on title because they did not want to have the liability on their books. They wanted to be completely off the books with a separate promissory agreement on the side. Some sellers may want to be on title with you, and then you have a buyout strategy to get them out. Or you can be completely on title and they have a lien on the property. Now when they have a lien, that shows up as a, what is it? It shows up. And it's just, sometimes some sellers don't like that. It's just really weird. You have to, it takes a lot of finessing with the seller to find out what situation are they. Like everyone's different. And there's no one way. The best way is to have a really conversation with them and see if they understand. So one of the things we ask is, so when you're selling this place, what are you planning to do with the money? And a lot of owners have no idea what they do with the money. It's just, oh, I'm just going to put it into a GIC, or I'm going to put it into stocks. You know, if they're going to have that type of answer, well, give them an alternative. Say, well, would you like to be the bank? How would you like to be the bank? Is a question that you can ask. And like, how would you like to make, like 5% interest by loaning me some money, right? So instead of putting it into this GIC and you're only going to get like 1 or 2%, I'll double, I'll give you 5. And you can, and if I don't pay, you have the asset. So if he forecloses on me, guess what? He gets his property back. So it's a win for him.
Now, would you also use a quit claim deed?
I'm not really sure what that is. Which province are you in?
Ontario.
Oh, you're in Ontario. Okay.
Basically, from what I understand, a quit claim deed is if you word it in a way that if you are 60 days delinquent on the property, then me as the buyer loses all rights to that property. They do not have to go through the foreclosure process.
Wow.
And they basically take the property if you fall 60 days behind. It gives them that complete
assurance, yeah,
of not having to go through
foreclosing. Yeah.
And wait 9, 10, 18 months.
Well, that's amazing. Yep, you can do that if you want to do that. Sure. That would give the seller confidence in how serious you were, for sure. But I would do everything possible to avoid that and just add that in the negotiating process. So when you're negotiating, you have your bottom line and your top line. And you have to know that you don't want to give away the farm at the very first sitting. You want to have your ace up your sleeve and have your reserves, okay? And so you negotiate in stages. If you have to go that far in order to convince the seller, then bring it up, but don't offer it up front.
Okay. Now, would vendor or seller financing tend to get them closer to asking price as far as a deal?
When you say asking price, their asking price or yours?
Theirs.
Well, their asking price. Usually when usually seller financing, the seller is motivated to sell. They want to get rid of the property for some reason, and they will finance it just to get it off. That's been my experience, okay? I've run across very, like when I'm a little confused right now because I have not personally run across any sellers who want to sell the property at top dollar that want to sell. That's not been my experience. It's always been the opposite. Although I know other people have done that. But you see, if you're looking for that, you'll find it. You get what I mean? If I find a vendor that's motivated to sell below market and willing to finance, I find them. Why would I want to pay top dollar? I don't like paying top dollar for stuff.
No, I don't. But if you're going in, I guess I didn't ask the question properly.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going in with financing, you can go in lower. If you're asking him to finance, whether it be some of it or all of it,
mm-hmm.
then does that not make sense to sweeten the deal on his behalf?
My answer is yes and no. I've done deals where the vendor has come way down on their price point and still gave a vendor take back to make the deal work. Interesting, hey?
Yeah, he wants to get rid of it. Okay.
Yeah, so it depends. If they want to cash out, but they're willing to, yeah, so it's like, yeah, you can do that to sweeten the deal. That's part of it. I've never used that particular tactic myself. It's always been the other way. But always be careful of using these tactics too soon in your negotiating, because you'd be amazed at what people will give you just by asking. You would. I see it all the time. My husband is one of the most amazing negotiators I know, and he consistently goes out and gets amazing deals at below market, and then he has the audacity to ask for more off. And I would say 80% of the time, he gets it. He just asks over and over and over and over. Even after the day of closing. The deal is not done until the deed has been transferred. And he's always negotiating up to the day we close. That's the one hallmark of a real estate investor. You're always negotiating. Realtors don't like that, by the way, but that's too bad. It's just that this is the life of a real estate investor. You're doing everything possible to bring the costs down. If you can save, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 off the deal, that's money that you don't have to make back in profit later on. So let me explain. There was a deal where I think we were able to negotiate another, let me use a nice round figure, $10,000. Take that off. I think it had something to do with deferred maintenance. We found some more stuff and negotiated another $10,000 off, and it came off as adjustments for repairs. Now think about the profit you make on your properties, or any business for that matter. Do you think 10% profit on a business is good?
Depending on the business.
That's right. Well, let's just take the average business out there. The average business makes between 3 to 4% profit, which is not much actually. Big companies like Canada Bread, Maple Leaf Foods, they're lucky if they make a 1 to 3% net profit. So I'm going 10%, double digits. So that $10,000, if that represented my net profit for my business, that means I had to create $100,000 of business to get that $10,000 of profit. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. So just by saving the $10,000 just right off the top, that means I've saved having to generate $100,000 in profit, or $100,000 in sales to generate that $10,000 in profit, net profit. So everything we do is based on the net result. So even if we can save $5,000 off the price, that's a $50,000 savings. That's why every little bit counts. If you're paying $2,000 more than you should, that $2,000 represents $20,000 of revenue that you have to make up somewhere. That's what real estate is. It's a business. That's why, and too many real estate investors give away money. Oh, it's only $2,000. Oh, it's just $1,000. Well, that's $10,000 of revenue. It's still a lot of money. You don't want to be giving away even $1,000. You have to save it. It's a lot of work to get that money back, which is why a lot of businesses go under. They don't understand cash flow. They don't understand their financial statements and what that net profit really represents. Every bit of money they spend, that $500 modular chair, it's like, oh my God, $500 chair, you have to be making $5,000 in sales to be able to even afford that. And that's spending all your profit. So that's why I don't have $500 chairs in my office. That's just a little business tip, okay, for you guys out there. Look, really watch your bottom line, especially when you're buying. So if you get a quote from your lawyer for like, you know, like, what is it? I got a $15,000 quote on my last deal. It's like, is that the best you can do? I'm trying to shave off as much as I can because $15,000, I got to make what is it? $150,000 in profit or sales just to pay for that. So that's why you negotiate. Always ask, is that the best you can do? Give me a break, man. And most people will do whatever they can to shave off $500 or $1,000 or $2,000. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Sean said, thank you very much. That's a positive mindset, right?
Oh, I may have done. I just diversified just a little bit, but it's really important. I see so many people spending. It's like, why did you pay that much for that? Because it takes a lot on the other end once you buy the property to recoup all those costs back. Okay, so be very aware of your bottom line. Yeah.
Perfect. So just to follow up, Mr. Randy, thank you very much for response. Was was great. And Mr. Michael, that was really good. Thank you, July and Jarek. Mr. David, I do suggest ask those questions on our discussion forum because July's precious time is very valuable for us, and we took over 2 hours. So, wow. I think that's the longest. I think that was the longest webinar I ever conducted. So I do really thank you very much.
I want to make sure that. It's my pleasure. I just want to help your network get their specific issues dealt with. And this is just my opinion, by the way, right? It's neither right nor wrong. It's just my way of looking at things, and I hope that it helps you all. Thank you.
Definitely. So would you mind telling more about what you've been doing from, just if you have any final thoughts about what you would like to share with our members about what you do, whatever, but 2 minutes, 5 minutes max.
Well, I am first and foremost a real estate investor. I am actively buying real estate, and I am now in the process of stabilizing everything that I own, which is basically apartment buildings for the most part. And I'm bringing my property management in-house. I discovered that once you buy the property, that's the first step, but it's definitely not the end. The next is managing your asset and making sure that you increase the values. And the way you do that is you deferred maintenance. You got to take care of the maintenance issues. You got to make sure the property manager is on top of it, always raising rents every single year. You manage all these things incrementally, and you have a property in 5 years, 10 years that is worth hopefully double what you bought it for. In the apartment business, there is no real equity per se. The equity is based on the net operating income. So that's why we are always working on our bottom line to get that NOI as high as possible, because that determines the valuation of the apartment. It's not like a house or a fourplex where it appreciates and you can have an appraiser come in. you don't have appraisers for apartment buildings. They just look at your cash flow numbers, your NOI, and that's how they get the valuation. So now I'm in the process of, I just stabilized my Thunder Bay portfolio. There's 8 apartment buildings there now, and I'm buying a 9th one. And now I've switched my focus to Fort St. John because we have buildings there that we want to manage up and stabilize it. It's been somewhat mismanaged, and we're going to go in there and bring the NOI up to where it should be. And then once that's stabilized, then I can go on another spending spree and buy more buildings. So it's pacing yourself and being patient. We went and bought all this stuff, but guess what? You have to go back and make sure they're all operating right. If the numbers aren't right, you have to go in there, and we had to take active management temporarily for a few months, 2 years. And now that I have the property management system, I'm going and I'm cookie cuttering it in Fort St. John. Once that's ready, I'm going to have my property management module available for other people, because it's so fantastic that I have to share it with others. So that's going to come in about a year or 2, hopefully not more than 3. And I'm right now looking at a 400+ portfolio. That's exciting. Something that big hasn't come along the way in quite a few months, actually, about 2 years. So I'm sure I'm not the only one looking at it. And there's actually other ones, 200-something units out there right now. So there's some activity starting to pop up in the real estate market in Canada, so I'm very happy. And I have been researching the U.S. market for the last, I would say 7 to 8 years. And I'm almost ready to start investing because I'm just waiting for the worst to get over. And the U.S. market is very, very different than Canada, so that's why I'm very cautious before I make a move. But I'm almost ready to go down there too.
I see.
I'm chomping at the bit to buy because I love buying. So when I'm not window shopping for apartments, Jarek, I love teaching and helping other people when I have time in between. Because I know what it was like when I first started. It was bewildering. It was very frightening because there wasn't a lot of information readily available. And the gurus that were out there were willing to take my money with no ROI for me. Right?
That's why we are running Canada Real Estate Investors Club.
Yes, that's right. It's like you got to be careful with the U.S. gurus. They know U.S. laws and U.S. acquisitions, and it's very different than running things in Canada. A lot of things that the U.S. gurus say you can do are illegal in Canada, actually. So you don't want to be spending $5,000 on something that you can't do. You want to know what you can do, right? So I was able to modify a lot of that stuff to make it work up here.
Anyway, so I can tell you one thing. You more likely asked the last question for Mr. David. Because he was asking about U.S. investing, but I asked him to ask that question directly on Canada REIC. And we are presently on your website, on thebeacheducation.com. So I guess your goal is to retire somewhere, like in 50 years. No, I'm not saying that. Like in 5 years, maybe on some beaches in Mexico or, Caribbean or somewhere else, right?
Hey, I tried retirement in 2003, a few years ago. I think when I was 41, I retired. And guess what? I lasted 4 months.
I see.
Retirement is highly overrated. I was incredibly bored, and it's just no way to live your life, man. So it's better to be active and out there helping people and doing things. And having fun at the same time, of course.
we all having fun, right? So.
Yeah.
I do really enjoy meeting with you. Thank you very much for your valuable information. I have been receiving so many feedback notes that thank you very much.
Great.
One of the best webinars we ever held by Canada REIC. So thank you very much. And
my pleasure, Jarek.
Your final thoughts, and we are closing the webinar.
Oh, geez. So get out, help your investors by understanding real estate. So learn the 7 profit centers in real estate. I'm working on an iBook right now, so I'll have that ready as soon as I can. But the thing is, learn, model me on the tutorial. The way I'm teaching somebody who's learning, and she really is learning. And she, in a year and a half later, she went and bought 2 properties herself. So that stuff works. And then when you're training other people, you learn faster when you're training other people. That's why I want you to be up there teaching and doing, because in the teaching, you actually learn faster. And that's how you find your investors, because everybody's looking for money. But the thing is, stop looking for money. Start giving your knowledge away. Start helping other people, and the money will come to you, okay? Okay? It will. Just be patient. Have that plan. Oh, and by the way, have the written plan. I have my written plan, and I write it every year again. So I'm always extending my 10-year plan out another 10 years. Okie dokie. Actually, I have a 130-year plan, and I'm pretty much on target right now. You should have a legacy plan. What are you going to leave the planet? What are you going to leave your family and your friends and your community and the world? So it's all about rising to the challenge, rising above yourself, because we're all here for a purpose. And my purpose is to empower and inspire the world to live in hope and victory. So I know what it's like to live in despair. I've lived it. I was in that place for almost a decade. And now I'm living the fruits of my patience, because now I'm on the other side. And it's amazing. Just persevere and hold on to that vision. I know what it's like being in despair. And now I know what it's like to be in joy. You just have to, and that's why I really appreciate what I have now, because I know what it's like being on the opposite end. And believe me, you have no idea how amazing and resourceful you are. You really don't. And I still don't know that. I'm always discovering more things about myself. I can tell you that you are more resourceful than you could ever know about yourself. Just know that. It's a truth. Okay, so thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure for me to be on this call and helping you all. And thank you all for showing up. Showing up tells me that you are that 1% of the population that is showing up. And that makes you a very unique and special people. Thank you.